On the morning of August 6, 1945, the people of Hiroshima, Japan, were beginning what seemed like an ordinary summer day. Shops were opening, students were heading to school, and workers were arriving at factories. High above the city, a single American B-29 bomber called Enola Gay flew toward its target. Within minutes, history would change forever. The explosion that followed would not only devastate one city, it would introduce humanity to the terrifying power of nuclear weapons and reshape the future of the world. To understand why Hiroshima and Nagasaki were bombed, we have to go back to World War II. By 1945, the war had been raging for nearly 6 years, involving dozens of countries across Europe, Africa, and Asia. In the Pacific, the United States and Japan fought brutal battles on islands such as Iwo Jima and Okinawa, where hundreds of thousands of soldiers and civilians lost their lives. Although Germany surrendered in May 1945, Japan continued fighting, and Allied leaders feared that an invasion of the Japanese mainland could cost hundreds of thousands of additional lives. Meanwhile, a secret scientific effort was underway. Beginning in 1942, the United States launched the Manhattan Project, one of the most expensive and secretive research programs in history. More than 130,000 scientists, engineers, and workers were involved, including physicist J. Robert Oppenheimer. At laboratories in Los Alamos, New Mexico, they raced to build the world's first atomic bomb before Nazi Germany or any other nation could. On July 16, 1945, the first successful nuclear test, known as the Trinity test, lit up the New Mexico desert with an explosion unlike anything humanity had ever witnessed. After the successful test, U.S. President Harry S. Truman approved the use of the new weapon against Japan. Military planners selected several possible targets, including Hiroshima, Kokura, Niigata, and Nagasaki. Hiroshima was chosen because it was an important military and industrial center and had not yet suffered major bombing, allowing the effects of the new weapon to be more clearly observed. Historians continue to debate the decision, with some arguing it helped end the war quickly, while others believe alternatives should have been pursued. At 8:15 a.m. on August 6, 1945, the Enola Gay released a uranium bomb known as Little Boy. About 43 seconds later, it exploded roughly 600 meters above Hiroshima. The blast generated temperatures of several million degrees at its center, producing an intense flash of light and a massive shockwave. Buildings collapsed across much of the city, fires spread rapidly, and tens of thousands of people were killed almost instantly. By the end of 1945, an estimated 140,000 people had died as a result of the explosion, burns, injuries, and radiation-related illnesses. For those who survived, the destruction was almost impossible to describe. Hospitals had been destroyed, doctors and nurses were among the victims, and clean water was scarce. Families searched through the ruins for loved ones, while fires continued burning throughout the city. Many survivors later became known as hibakusha, a Japanese term meaning bomb-affected people. Their testimonies remain some of the most important first-hand accounts of the human cost of nuclear warfare. Despite Hiroshima's destruction, Japan had not yet surrendered. On August 9, 1945, another American B-29 bomber, Bockscar, took off carrying a second atomic bomb called Fat Man. Its original target was the city of Kokura, but heavy clouds and smoke made accurate bombing impossible. The crew turned toward the secondary target, Nagasaki. At 11:02 a.m., the bomb exploded over the city. Nagasaki's hills reduced some of the blast's reach, but the destruction was still catastrophic. By the end of 1945, an estimated 70,000 people had died from the bombing and its immediate consequences. Only days later, events moved quickly. On August 15, 1945, Emperor Hirohito addressed the Japanese people by radio for the first time in history, announcing Japan's acceptance of the Allied terms of surrender. The formal surrender was signed aboard the battleship USS Missouri in Tokyo Bay on September 2, 1945, bringing World War II to an end. After nearly 6 years of global conflict, millions had lost their lives, and the world entered an uncertain new era. The bombings remain among the most debated decisions in modern history. Some historians argue they prevented an invasion of Japan that could have caused even greater casualties on both sides. Others contend that Japan was already close to surrender or that different diplomatic options should have been pursued. The entry of the Soviet Union into the war against Japan on August 8, 1945, is also considered by many scholars to have been a significant factor. Because of these complexities, historians continue to study and debate the events from military, political, and humanitarian perspectives. The long-term effects extended far beyond 1945. Many survivors experienced illnesses linked to radiation exposure, including certain cancers and other health conditions, sometimes years after the bombings. Cities that had once been reduced to ruins were gradually rebuilt. Today, Hiroshima Peace Memorial Park, including the preserved atomic bomb dome, stands as a reminder of the destruction and a symbol of hope for peace. In Nagasaki, memorials and museums preserve the stories of victims and educate future generations about the consequences of nuclear war. The bombings also mark the beginning of the nuclear age. In the decades that followed, countries such as the United States and the Soviet Union built thousands of nuclear weapons during the Cold War, creating the constant fear of global nuclear conflict. International agreements, including the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, sought to limit the spread of these weapons, while many nations and organizations continue to advocate for nuclear disarmament. Nearly 80 years later, Hiroshima and Nagasaki are thriving modern cities filled with schools, businesses, parks, and millions of visitors each year. Yet beneath that renewal lies a powerful reminder of what happened in August 1945. The stories of those who lived through the bombings continue to be shared, not to celebrate destruction, but to preserve memory and encourage reflection. They remind us that scientific breakthroughs can transform the world for better or worse, depending on how humanity chooses to use them. The legacy of Hiroshima and Nagasaki is not only about two cities or two bombs. It is about the choices nations make during war, the consequences those choices have on ordinary people, and the responsibility that comes with extraordinary technology. As long as nuclear weapons exist, the lessons of August 6 and August 9, 1945, remain relevant. History cannot be changed, but it can be remembered, studied, and used to guide a future where such devastation is never repeated.